Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the preview for the 2024 United States Grand Prix. Yes, F1 is back from its autumn break with the first of a triple header, and as if that wasn't enough excitement for you all, it's a sprint weekend too. Just 6 races to go now in 2024, and there are still so many questions left to be answered around the 2 championships, teammate battles, and even driver lineups. It really is going to be an interesting run between now and the checkered flag at Abu Dhabi in December. But anyway, we'll worry about December when we get to December. Let's crack on with this preview, starting as always with a look at the track and all the usual stats that follow. So last time out F1 was in Singapore, where Lando Norris dominated to take the win, but now it is on to Austin for round 19 of this 24 race season. Maybe it's just me, but it has absolutely flown by this year, hasn't it? A lap of the, in my opinion anyway, fantastic circuit of the Americas is 5.513 kilometers long. That is, if you prefer, just over 3.42 miles, and is made up of 20 corners with 56 laps scheduled for Sunday's race. That's 19 for Saturday's sprint. And the race lap record is held by Charles Leclerc, who posted a 1:36.169 back in 2019. This weekend, there will be 2 DRS zones in action to help drivers get some moves done. The first zone is down the long straight between turns 11 and 12 with its detection point about halfway between 10 and 11. And the second and final zone is down the start-finish straight with its detection point just before the penultimate corner. There have been a few changes to the track ahead of this year's event, with much of it having been resurfaced to complete the work that started a couple of years ago. Sections between turns 9 and 12 and 16 and 3 specifically, and the new surface, in theory at least, should have dealt with the bumps that drivers have complained about previously. On top of that, a new fake gravel trap, the resin-bound ones we've seen used at Zandvoort, has been added to turn 11, and asphalt verges at turn 6, 13, 14 and 15 have been narrowed by 1.5 metres and replaced with a turf in a bid to encourage drivers not to breach track limits. Last year, Max Verstappen, obviously, took the win, having already come out on top in the sprint on Saturday. Joining him on the podium on Sunday were Lando Norris in P2 and Carlos Sainz in P3. Yuki Tsunoda, by the way, setting the fastest lap of the race. And here's a stat for you. If Max Verstappen was to win the race on Sunday, it would be his 7th win in the United States, not including sprints, and his 4th win in a row at the Circuit of the Americas. Oh, and if that wasn't enough, 7 is also the number of tyres in the Pirelli range if we include the wets and the inters. And 7 minus 4 is 3, which just so happens to be the number of dry tyre compounds available across a race weekend. Oh yes, that is right, folks. It is a double segue into tyre talk time. The compounds available for this one then are right down the middle of the Pirelli range, and so they are the hard C2, the medium C3, and the soft C4. Now, this circuit is a really good mix of corners, some more demanding than others, and so we are likely to see a multi-stop race. 2 stops tends to be the way teams go because a 1-stopper usually requires a lot of time management to combat degradation, although it will be interesting to see if the new surface makes any difference on that front. In their preview, Pirelli points out that the loads on the tyres are more lateral than vertical and are fairly evenly distributed between the front and rear axles, and degradation tends to be thermal, and so is linked to the ambient temperatures at the circuit. More on the weather shortly, though. Worth noting too that it will be the rears that bear the brunt this weekend, as traction is hugely important around COTA, especially coming out of the corners that lead onto the DRS straights and through the middle sector. Last year's winning strategy was, as already touched on, a 2-stop with Max Verstappen starting on the mediums, changing to another set of mediums on lap 16, before switching to the hards on lap 35. Charles Leclerc was the only driver to make the 1-stop work, by the way, swapping the mediums he started on for a set of hards on lap 23, but all the other drivers pitted at least twice, with Yuki Tsunoda making a 3rd stop for softs later on in the race to go for the fastest lap bonus point. Interestingly enough, the hard C2 tyre last year wasn't as effective as the medium C3, which was the most used compound. The question is, could that all change with the new surface? We will find out soon enough, of course, but it's just something worth keeping an eye on. The weather will be a big factor as always when it comes to strategy, but more so on the temperature side of things, because at time of recording, it looks as though we should be set for a dry and warm weekend. And as always, the latest forecast as of Thursday morning is on screen for you to have a look at now, but it doesn't look as though we'll be facing the risk of a washout like we almost saw in 2015, of course. A couple of other things well worth a mention when it comes to strategy. The total pit lane lost time in 2023 was largely between 24 and 25 seconds. And the full and virtual safety car have been a factor over the years at COTA, with 3 of the last 5 races at the circuit featuring at least 1. The 2022 race had 2 full safety car periods, and the 2018 and 21 races each featured a single VSC. And your schedule for this weekend is a late one here in the UK across Europe, and I'm sure elsewhere too. And as I say, every single time we come round to these races, I really do enjoy a late night race. So very much looking forward to this weekend and the race reaction on Sunday, where I might be slightly delirious, but they tend to be the best ones, don't they? But anyway, FP1 will kick the weekend off on Friday at 6:30pm BST, the only practice session of the event, of course. And sprint qualifying takes place later on Friday at 10:30pm. Saturday's action starts with the sprint race at 7pm, with qualifying underway from 11pm. And it is lights out for the race on Sunday at 8pm, and once again, that is in UK time. Now, before I make another round of, let's face it, awful predictions, let's have a look at a few news stories or talking points relevant to the weekend in Austin. So first up, we have some special one-off liveries for this one. Earlier this week, Alpine unveiled a new orange look for the weekend at COTA to market the release of the upcoming video game Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Alpine's partners Xbox taking charge of the livery to showcase the colours of the franchise. Sunset Orange has been added to the car along with other design details such as an ancient map and red travel routes, as is showcased in the film series, with the title of the game also placed on the car. McLaren have brought back the chrome and papaya look last used at the 2023 race at Silverstone, the team saying the fan favourite chrome livery, their words not mine, represents the pursuit of innovative design by McLaren and partners Google, and touches of chrome will also be present on the race suits of the drivers. Moving on, sort of, but also sticking with liveries to a point, Haas has a tweaked look for the weekend, but not just when it comes to the paint job. It's been a busy autumn break for the Haas team as they revealed a new technical partnership with Toyota and a new key sponsor, Orion 180, in recent days, but the car will also roll out with some big updates in Austin. The team confirmed in their weekend preview that the update to the VF24 will mainly involve another step of development in the floor and bodywork to improve aero load in order to make the car faster, but the development is a further evolution of the package rather than something completely new, although they do say the car will look a little bit different. As touched on, the livery has been tweaked for the team's home race too, and the car now has additional American features with a striking red, white and blue element on the side pod that forms into an eagle, that colour scheme featuring on the front wing and elsewhere too. And in case you've been living on Mars and somehow managed to miss it over the last month, Liam Lawson returns to F1 this weekend as he replaces Daniel Ricciardo at RB, VCarb, the Red Bull Junior team, whatever you want to call it. And speaking to the F1 Nation podcast, Lawson has explained the target the team has set him for the final 6-race stint of the season. He said that, perhaps unsurprisingly, the team want him to perform at least as well as teammate Yuki Tsunoda, matching him and scoring points. He went on to say, quote, "Obviously the team is fighting for 6th in the Constructors and that's quite important for VCarb, so to basically score points is the goal. If we're scoring points then I think we're basically doing a good job, so that's honestly the target that has been set." It is also worth a reminder, or if you didn't know, letting you know that according to Christian Horner, Lawson is set to get slapped with a 10-place grid penalty in Austin as he takes a new power unit which puts him on the back foot immediately. I mean, talk about being thrown in at the deep end. And if you're wondering why, well, as per the regulations, F1 engine allocations are tied to the car rather than the driver, and so Lawson will inherit Ricciardo's pool of power unit components for the final 6 rounds of 2024. Right then, time to make some predictions, and as always, please do not take these too seriously, they're just a little bit of fun, but if you do disagree with my picks, then you can let me know yours in the comment section down below. And last time, yeah, not great again. Hardly a shock, I know, wrong on everything apart from Lando Norris winning and Oscar Piastri finishing in 3rd place, so points on the board, but still pretty terrible. As for this week, I mean, who knows, really, things have been so unpredictable of late, with McLaren entering most weekends as the favourites, but then teams like Ferrari and Mercedes turn up and change things massively. That's how we want it though, right? How rubbish would it be if we turned up to every race knowing 100% for sure who was going to win before even a wheel was turned? We want unpredictability, so let's keep it coming. Look, McLaren will be right up there, absolutely no doubt about that, and Ferrari and Mercedes could well be in the mix too. However, the big question is, what pace will Red Bull give us? This weekend has long been touted as the point at which the team is expecting to improve and get back to some sort of consistent good form, with a fleet of updates expected to arrive in Austin. This feels like it could be a huge weekend when it comes to the debate around whether or not we have a title fight. If the updates work and Red Bull are back in front, or at least on par with McLaren, it could well be game over for Lando Norris. But if they don't and the team ends up around where it has been in recent races, it could well be game on. Fascinating weekend ahead, I reckon. But anyway, shall I actually make these predictions rather than just waffling away for the next hour? I think that's probably for the best, for your sanity more than mine. So, with McLaren likely favourites, I will go with pole position for one of their drivers. I'd like to see Oscar Piastri get his first, but I'll go with Norris for sprint pole and proper pole. I'll also go with him for the sprint win too. However, I'm going what feels a little bit bold, actually, and I'm going to assume that Red Bull do find their feet again at COTA, and as we've seen plenty of times before, show better race pace than they do one-lap pace, and say that Verstappen takes the win on Sunday, his first since the Spanish Grand Prix in June. Yes, it really has been that long. Behind him on the podium, I will go with Norris in P2, and yeah, probably Piastri P3 for this weekend. It would be nice to stick a Ferrari on Mercedes, but let's keep it interesting, but I'll go with Piastri. As for best of the rest, so the fourth best finishing team on Sunday, I was going to say Mercedes, but I feel like I almost always pick them at the moment, so I'll say Ferrari just to mix things up a little bit, but honestly, it could be either of them, or if things don't work out with the changes they've made to the car, it could even be Red Bull. We'll find out in the coming days, of course. When it comes to some bolder picks, which as always are separate to the proper predictions, let's say I'm totally wrong on how I think this weekend will unfold, that's not too much of a reach, and say that Charles Leclerc surprises me by taking pole position on Saturday for the Grand Prix, Pierre Gasly picks up a point on Sunday, and as it is their home race, let's say Haas has a strong weekend and grabs some points across the weekend, with Kevin Magnussen taking 8th in the sprint, and Nico Hülkenberg 9th in the race on Sunday. As for Liam Lawson, well, pole and the win, surely. I mean, obviously not really, but I'll say a top 12 finish on Sunday. That is it then for the US Grand Prix preview, but don't forget you can let me know your thoughts and your predictions ahead of the weekend in the comments section down below. Now, I will be back on Saturday with the qualifying watch-along, and of course I'll be live again with Stuart shortly after the race on Sunday for some race reaction. In the meantime, though, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like, as it really does help the channel in its never-ending fight with the YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing so you don't miss any future videos or streams. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.